All right, I am here with Alex Tews and Josh Tews, and we're going to talk about guts. This is going to be a little different than the tutorial that we had planned, but that's okay. We will adapt with this COVID-19. What are your guys' experiences with guts?
Where do we start? I don't know.
Yeah, go ahead.
So many. I don't know. From all the people we meet to all the places we've gone to.
Yeah, I mean, I was first introduced to guts like really early on. We were out disc golfing with my dad, and we were like wandering through the park, and he saw some guys that he knew, and he was like, "Oh, I got to show you guys this. Come over here. Come over here." And we like walked over there and saw some guys throwing a disc, an orange disc back and forth at each other crazy hard, and it was like, "What on earth is this?" And he was like, "Oh, it's guts. I used to play way back in the day," and kind of saw it firsthand there, and then kind of told us to go to some practices here and there, and I wasn't having it. And then in 2007, they hosted the first like Wisconsin State Championships in like a really long time, and I went to spectate and watch my dad play, and that was the first time I ever saw a tournament, and I fell in love with the game ever since. So in 2007, I was like 14 years old. So yeah, man, it's been a while, but that's how I first got involved in it.
Yeah,
Nice.
that was also the first term. I don't remember the disc golf part at all, but I was also only probably 10 years at the time. So, but yeah, that 2007 Wisconsin tournament was the first one we saw, and it rained like crazy, and we were in this park in Appleton. It was Jones Park, and so it's like this big bowl right next to downtown, and so it just got so muddy, and people were playing in like ankle deep water, and it was just the coolest thing I'd ever seen. And I was like, dude, you need to play in that kind of weather. But it's funny because now I'm not a big rain guts fan, so but it's what got me. People dive in the puddle, but he's pretty legit, man.
Yeah. I remember we had one ultimate tournament, regionals, where that your senior year, Alex, where we didn't make it, but then some team dropped out, so we went, and we played in like ankle deep water.
I remember hearing about that, dude. Yeah,
Dude, that was the worst tournament I've ever
I
experienced.
remember seeing photos. That was gnarly.
Yeah, no, but then in 2007. We saw that first tournament, and then I instantly wanted to, get my own team and enter in the tournament the next year. And so I asked Alex, do you have any of your friends that want to play or whatever and come to practice and all that? Because he sort of hooked up with my dad's team with the local club. And I was like, well, I want to make a group of like young guys or whatever. And then I grabbed a couple, 5, 6 of his friends, and we started practicing here and there and figuring it out, and then we entered in our very first tournament in that Wisconsin championship, and of course we didn't do well. We didn't win. The team that we played on didn't win a single game for the first 2 years we played, so it was like you're not even out of a best of 3. We got 2-0 every time in a best of 3. No chance. Like we get so close, and then something with like experience would take over. Yeah, it was a struggle for the first couple of years, and then Alex joined us 2010, right?
No,
The year that we won our first tournament.
I feel like it was earlier than that.
You think so? Was it 9? Yeah, you may have joined.
I think it was like right
we
around.
played a whole year without you, and then you were like, I'm leaving the old guys, I'm joining my friends.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then
And then we've been together ever since.
Yeah, for the last, what would it be now? This would be my 11th year, 12th year, something like that, I guess.
Dang.
But in 2010, we won our first tournament, which was the Wisconsin Championships.
Yeah, won
in 2010. That was legit to be our first one, the home one. That was kind of cool.
That's awesome. What was playing at Worlds like?
Man, it's just a whole nother level. It's just not like the level of play necessarily, but just like the professionalism and how wild it is to be surrounded by people who love frisbee but are from all around the world. Like there were like 72 different countries represented there, obviously not just in the guts division, but in both guts and ultimate. But just to be around all of those frisbee loving people is incredible because you have that common interest and that's what you connect on immediately. The level of play is super fun. I mean, it was intense, to be honest with you, but I really enjoyed it. We had a good time. We worked really hard for it while we were there.
Yeah, I was super excited for it when we first went because, when we first started in 2008, because they hosted every 4 years. So 2008 there was one, 2012, then 16 when we went. In 2008, that was like our main goal. We were like, in 4 years we want to qualify to be a representative for Team USA. When the 2012 tournament happened, we technically qualified, but we didn't really have the means because it was hosted over in Japan in 2012. Okay. We didn't have the means to get there because we were the oldest of one of the. So that wasn't realistic.
I was 18 at the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then we were like, okay, whatever. So then when we qualified to be Team 1 in 2016, super geeked about it because it was like, heck yeah, we've been going for 8 years now trying to do this because this is like the top end of it. This is where you want to be. And then when we got there, it was just like, I was just kind of in awe of the number of people, like with Ultimate and the Guts combined, just the whole tournament venue. Like we were at a professional, I believe they're professional soccer like practice complex, and there's like 20 soccer fields and just this huge venue and just hundreds of people and there's fans everywhere and it was pretty fun to see.
That's awesome.
And getting into the games was playing the first few. It was just like any other tournament. You might have some nerves or whatever, but then you just kind of get into the groove of it. And we had a really good team, and we knew that we were confident with our skills, so we kind of meshed together really well and just kind of flowed.
It was wild because it was different than any other tournament, though, because like most tournaments are just on a Saturday, Sunday, and you play all of your games. You play a bunch of games on Saturday, so you may play like 8 games, and then you're put into pool play, and then you may play your first round of pool play, and then if you do well, you advance. And then Sunday, you may play 6 games, you may play 2 games. It all depends on how you do.
Well, how you do in the bracket, yeah.
For Worlds, it's 7 days, and you play everybody in pool play, and then all of a sudden you get into bracket play, and you don't play all day long for the 7 days. You only play like 2 or 3 games, maybe 4. So you still get a bunch of time to be a tourist and explore the area that you're in. We got to go to London. So that was crazy, but it's just a different tournament setup too, with playing every single day versus just all your games in one day and then getting thrown into a bracket and going at it and then being done.
Because after, I think we did 4 days of pool play, and then there were two days of bracket, and then the last day we just did the finals. Yeah, something like that. And so, after that 5th day or something, you've still played the same number of games, but it's drawn out, so you've used, maybe a little more energy, your intensity or whatever, depending on where you're at in the pools, and if you need to win to be that 1 seed versus the 2nd seed. I remember our first, the first pool play game that we played against Japan's Team 1. That was like the highest intensity that we played in pool play, because we knew that for the last several WUGCs, Japan and the United States have been the top 2 teams going at it, meeting in the finals every time, go between 1st and 2nd. And we had never played against their team won. So it was like we wanted to make sure that we didn't show them everything that we had, but still we wanted to win to have the one up on them as far as the seeding goes, and show that we're a force to be reckoned with and that kind of thing. So
I think I remember watching that stream.
It was wild too. So after we qualified, after we made the finals and found out we were going to be playing Japan 1 again, we ended up getting like a month's worth of rain overnight. And
it was nuts. Even for London, they were like, we haven't seen this much rain in years. Like, it hasn't rained this much. It was insane. They had to cancel a whole day of play.
Wow.
They suspended a whole day of play because the soccer complex didn't want people on the fields tearing it up, because we would have absolutely destroyed every one of their fields.
Oh yeah,
because there was standing water, and we would have just shredded it up.
So like some of the ultimate teams too, it was like one of the last days of pool play, and there were teams that were like on the cusp that needed to win their games in order to advance to bracket play, and they're just like, sorry, your games are canceled, you don't have a chance. Like, that's the end of it. And it's just like it's devastating. That'd be devastating to hear. And we were, they scrambled and we're trying to figure something out, and they did a great job. I mean, we were able to host the championship like we were supposed to, with phenomenal weather. I mean, the video's on YouTube as well, so you can check that out.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
The whole game.
Yeah, it turned out really nice, the finals weather or whatever. And
yeah.
I remember that one game you guys played. It was super windy. I remember watching it against Japan.
So that was pretty much like the whole finals, is because, like, if you watch the video, I've watched it a couple of times, and you notice that for like 5 minutes it'll be sunny, and then it gets really windy, and then it starts to rain, and then another 5 minutes elapses, and now it's sunny again, and then it's really windy, and
it's really weird.
That's just the London cycle. Like, that's the weather.
Yeah, it was like that pretty much every day. It wasn't like you're not getting a whole day of sun or a whole day of rain. It's just going to be
you're going to get
on and off every other hour sort of thing. Like, and it could be heavy rain, could just be a light mist. It could be pretty hot sun, no wind, or it could be sunny and breezy, so it's kind of cool, and it's really kind of crazy, actually, how different the weather is.
Yeah, that is cool. So you guys want to talk about a little bit about how to play Guts?
Sure.
For people that don't know.
Yeah. So it's actually one of our teammates, he's also a board member, Adam Swanson, just posted, he does a lot of video editing for USA Guts. He created a really good video on YouTube with all the rules, great explanations. I helped him narrate it, and so check that out for more details. But the easy way to explain it, I guess, is it's a 5-man team game of throw and catch, high-speed throw and catch. So the field is pretty small. It's just two lines that are 15 meters apart, and on one. So each team is on one side. When you're on offense, the person with the disc, they're throwing it at the defense, who lines up 5 guys fingertips apart. So they'll stand to start. They line up. They'll spread their arms, and they'll touch fingertips, and that's how they kind of signal that they're ready for the thrower to throw, basically. And then the offensive thrower, they'll throw the disc as hard as they can at this line of 5 guys. It has to be 90 degrees or less. They can throw it upside down, but it has to turn over beyond that 90 degrees. It can't hit the line upside down. That's a little more in-depth than it needs to be, but the offense's objective is to get it through the defense. So they throw it as hard as they can. They can throw it up to, so there's a box on the defense where so you don't have to jump on defense, you just have to put your arm up, and if the disc goes above the reach of a person, then that would be considered a bad throw. The disc also has to make it all the way to the line. It can't fall short, and it can't be outside the end man's reach to the side. So the defense sets the box basically sort of like a strike zone, essentially.
Okay.
And the defensive's objective is to catch the disc, but the trick is you have to catch it with one hand. So like Ultimate, where you could, catch it with two hands, Guts, you can only catch it with one hand, and it can only touch one part of your body at a time. So like I can't trap it against my chest, but I can trap it against Alex's chest because that's my hand in his chest. So that would technically be considered a catch, but the most common form of catching is you just kind of lay it on your hand flat, or within your grasp. If you catch it, that's called but there's no point for the defense for catching. They just don't allow the offense to score. And if the defense drops it, then it's a point for the offense. And whoever on the defense got hit by the disc first is now the return thrower on offense. Mm-hmm. And the other team lines up. So you play both offense and defense, because normally teams are about 6 to 7 guys on average.
Awesome. Makes sense.
So and it goes back and forth like that to 21, win by 2.
And it's super tough to like grasp the understanding of it too, like verbally. Once you watch it and you kind of understand, like
it's really simple to watch.
As you watch it, it's very easy to understand. But it does get a little confusing when you try to explain it.
There's just a lot of verbiage and like kind of specific rules that you could just ramble on, and you'd be like, okay, well, you lost me at the 90-degree things.
Disc golf, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you want to know?
All right, so how is it being a professional disc golfer?
I mean, I use the term professional very loosely. Like, I'm a professional in respects of I compete in tournaments, and if I do well enough, I get paid to do so in tournament winnings. But it's not my full-time job. It's not my full salary. But it's something to strive for. There are people who play disc golf full-time, and that is their only job. And, maybe they live paycheck to paycheck or tournament winning to tournament winning, but they live on the road and they play disc golf for a living. So
they're doing
who knows? I don't know, but it's awesome, man. I mean, golf is so different than any other sport. It's an individual sport, so you rely on yourself. It's you versus yourself. You get better if you want to get better, not if everybody shows up to practice in a good mood, wanting to practice really hard. It's all yourself. So I don't know, man. I really love it. It keeps you on your toes. It's never the same thing every single day. Some days you go out and you play really well, and then the very next day you can go out and you can play terrible. Like, have no idea what you're doing, and it's fun.
I've definitely experienced that part.
I think it's really interesting because I can throw a frisbee really far. I'm not very good at putting, below average maybe. But I like it just for the casual nature, You're just walking around, you're outside. I don't disc golf in the winter when there's snow on the ground like Alex does because he's all in on it. So, it's a nice sunny summer day and you're just throwing I don't enjoy anything more than throwing a frisbee, I don't think, or just watching a frisbee fly. So honestly, if I can just get out on a 500-foot hole and just throw it as hard as I can, that's really what I enjoy the most about disc golf. And but watching Alex take it to a different level, you really see that it is just it's just like going to play ball golf. You got your different clubs is what I'm trying to say for your 100-foot hooks versus your 200 foots, and you got your different wind conditions and all that kind of stuff. And so it's really interesting to see, because I could go out and play around with 3 discs and I wouldn't know the difference, but then Alex carrying a bag of 25 discs and he's just picking out, what's that?
20,
yeah. He's picking out it. He's got 3 of the same driver, but they're all beat into a different conditions, so they all fly different, even though they're all the same. It makes it a lot more interesting, I guess, to see than just the casual nature that I play it at. And so, but I don't have the desire to necessarily take it to that level. But that's the best part about disc golf, is you don't have to, and a lot of people don't. But there's other people, like the pros who are doing it for a living. They get to do it for a living. That's insane to me. So,
yeah, I agree. I cannot imagine doing that.